And factions now forming within Florida's legislature over a big immigration bill now under consideration. It is pitting Republicans against Republicans, forcing them to follow either their governor or their leaders. And Capitol reporter Forrest Saunders joining us live tonight from the legislative chambers in Tallahassee. Forrest, we saw some changes to that bill within the last 24 hours, but I got a feeling there's a long night ahead.
Yeah, you're right about that, Paul. I mean, let me give you just the flavor of what we're dealing with here. So this is the 87-page bill that was originally proposed by the legislature yesterday. And what we're seeing happen right now in both of the chambers, lawmakers are basically ditching it. And they're doing something different. They're doing a strike-all amendment is what we call it. So it's basically a rewrite. They're keeping some of the things that they had in there before, but they're adding new provisions after speaking with, you guessed it, the White House.
Day 2 of the special session snub of Governor Ron DeSantis brought amendments to that big immigration bill, replacing the governor's 11. In a joint statement, the House Speaker and Senate President said they had help from the Trump administration to make the changes, which now include increasing penalties for all crimes committed by an undocumented person, capital offenses earning mandatory death sentences, plus a $25 million bonus program for law enforcement helping ICE.
There are actions that Florida must undertake now in order to quickly align with President Trump's directives.
The bill still expected to contain what leaders proposed Monday, a repeal of in-state tuition for undocumented, a $500 million to boost local and state immigration enforcement, plus naming the Ag Commissioner, Wilton Simpson, as Florida's chief immigration officer.
I disagree with the current version. I really don't think it's going to do much to crack down on illegal immigration.
Do you think it's just like lip service?
I think it's an attempt to try to do something, but that something is not going to get it done.
DeSantis' allies remained an instant no, calling it a little more than a facade.
I'm 6 feet under right now, so I just start putting the dirt on top of me.
Rep. Mike Caruso said he was likely going to take heat for coming out against the House Speaker, but felt it was the right thing to do.
It's a boondoggle of a bill, and I firmly believe in my position. I think that the leadership and the Speaker are completely missing the boat on this issue, immigration.
That's as DeSantis himself said online. Quote, the bill, even with these proposed changes, though, is weak, weak, weak. It comes as he does a series of conservative talk shows over the last 24 hours, including Fox News.
It actually takes power away from me as governor and gives it to the Commissioner of Agriculture, which agriculture is not exactly known for immigration enforcement.
Democrats, meanwhile, reveling in the GOP civil war, but also warning either plan, whether it's the governor's or legislature, will hurt Florida more than help.
The intent of both bills are very similar. I mean, this is about feeding into Trump's anti-immigrant agenda.
Lawmakers are expected to pass the legislation Tuesday night, but what happens next is up to the governor.
Okay, so if Governor DeSantis does in fact get this legislation and he does decide to veto it, it basically comes right back to the lawmakers, and they'll have to decide whether or not to try and do a veto override. That takes 2/3 majority of each of the chambers. Now, Republicans probably have enough votes to get that done here, but there are some DeSantis allies over in the Senate that might make that difficult, and really what we're left with is more question marks for this special session. Paul?